Welcome to the Packaging Etc. podcast, where we will discuss all things packaging and some things not. We will hear from professionals across all areas of the industry: design, engineering, manufacturing, and many more. We will learn about packaging trends, new technologies, and cutting-edge innovations. This podcast is all about showcasing our favorite parts of the industry, the people, and giving them a platform to share their stories and their knowledge of packaging. Let's take this journey together. And now, your host, Matt Mulvey.
Greetings, all. My guest today is, and I'm quoting her LinkedIn bio here, a passionate advocate for sustainability for pharma and beyond. She's also the Vice President of Sustainability in the Pharma Division of Constantia Flexibles, Agnieszka von Batavia. Agnieszka, welcome.
Thank you, Matthew. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Well, I'm glad we were able to finally connect on this. So I do have to say, for clarity's sake, you are a first for me. You are the first member of the general public to reach out to me as a result of listening to the podcast and request a podcast episode to be a guest. And so excited for me that the outreach is there. Obviously, you're also based in Europe, so the fact that I'm on multiple continents is exciting for me. So just wanted to say thank you and been really looking forward to this.
No, my pleasure, Matthew, and I'm really thankful for having this opportunity to share what's happening in Europe and how this might impact the American companies as well.
Well, let's jump right into it then. So, as you would imagine, our topic for today, sustainability. An obvious hot button in packaging and across most, if not all, industries. So, Agnieszka, considering your breadth of experience, which specific areas within sustainability would you like to discuss today?
Well, I think it's important to think about the transition that we are currently experiencing from sustainability, especially in packaging, being just a compliance issue, to something that's becoming a little bit more of a, I would say, business imperative, with packaging regulations, EPR regulations, a subject that you also devoted a whole episode to, and other upcoming regulations. I think we must realize how important sustainability will become, not just for the sake of the claim, but for the sake of business strategy. And I think in a way reflected in the fact that what we observe in pharma is the split between the traditional pharma companies and the OTC providers. And we see that this is much dictated by the end consumer behavior. So there are different needs, there are different market requirements, and we see that especially in the pharma market at the moment, the companies are really responding to. And I think it's important to talk about that.
Okay, great. One of the questions I had about that is, and I'm sure we'll get into this in more detail as we go along, is there a competition? Are sustainability and regulatory compliance diametrically opposed? You know, are you solving one problem in one area and creating another somewhere else? Or do you find that we are finding alignment and ways to move forward to stay within the confines of regulatory compliance, but still delivering sustainable initiatives?
Well, I think that compliance, regulatory compliance in pharmaceutical packaging and sustainability actually go hand in hand, especially when we talk about the total barrier solutions like aluminum blisters, where regulatory compliance does not prevent us from using secondary materials that then result in lower carbon footprint. You see that this is a typical situation where those compliance issues and sustainability go hand in hand. And what we also need to understand that when we look at the environmental impact of packaging and packaging process, we tend to quantify it, we tend to assess it through scientific methodologies like life cycle assessment, or as you said in the US, life cycle analysis. And what we do there, we look at all the materials, energy, costs, emissions, and waste generated throughout the life cycle of packaging. And we tend to eliminate risks, and we tend to make sure that the resources are used efficiently. And I think compliance is about the same, about eliminating risk and about efficient and safe use of resources. So to me, those two go hand in hand.
Okay. I thought there may be some issues where you run into barriers, like, I think of something like lightweighting a product, right? You still need to meet your barrier properties to effectively protect your product, but you want to lightweight on your packaging materials. You want to reduce that overall footprint, but you eventually run into a scenario where you can't go any lighter because then you start sacrificing those barrier or the physical performance characteristics of the overall package. So I wasn't sure if there was any competition between the two, if you will.
Well, I think I'm really glad you mentioned that, Matthew, because I think we are drilling down to the core of what packaging is, and that's the packaging function. And I always say that packaging that does not full function is not sustainable. Because when we talk about packaging and sustainability, we obviously need to understand that packaging exists because it has a function, because there's a reason for packaging to be there. And we must always remember this reason, and that's protection and making sure that, in our case, the medicine gets safely to patients and in the stage that provides the right treatment to the patient. So if this function is not fulfilled, then there is no sustainability purpose in making it lightweight. Then to me, that's contradictory. Environmental sustainability, of course, but not on the expense of the function. And that's where we don't get contradiction.
It's more of a balancing act, I guess, is probably a good way of looking at it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So what would you say are some recent events that are kind of helping shape today and tomorrow's sustainability initiatives?
Well, I think the rise of the regulations that I've mentioned earlier, the packaging waste regulation, and the harmonizations of rules around packaging waste and packaging design is really driving the innovation in packaging forward. And it's also contributing to what we call more sustainable packaging practice. Right now, I would say the recyclability in many different areas is a question of almost an opinion. Okay, we have different recyclability certificates that could be HE, that could be required. But in a way, what's recyclable in one country is not necessarily considered recyclable in other country. I'm talking here about European spectrum, but I think the same applies to US. And this harmonization and making sure that there is this one and unanimous idea about what recyclability actually is. And this is happening both in the US and in Europe. I think it's very important because we take the subjectivity out of the equation, and it's become the legal issue. It's become a scientifically justified fact rather than an opinion. This is really shaping the future of packaging. And as I also mentioned earlier, we see the very specific development in the pharma market. The fact that the over-the-counter medicine and the traditional pharma, that there is a split happening. We see different large pharmaceutical companies having their OTC activities put under the separate umbrella. And that has a reason. And the reason is that patient buying a medicine over the counter behaves more like a consumer, which means that the way a packaging is treated, the way the packaging is designed for the over-the-counter medicine also follows more the fast-moving consumer goods type of design, rather than when we look at the typical traditional pharmaceutical packaging, prescription medicine, then obviously patient has no say in what type of medicine they will receive. So it's just basically pure function without any other considerations.
That makes perfect sense. I can't imagine anyone making a decision based on which prescription they'd want to go with based off of the color scheme in the graphics on the front of the folding carton. At that point, when you're talking about prescription medication, it's all about function, and it's all about, does the product treat the indication it claims and what I need it to treat. So no, it's an interesting
Exactly.
distinction.
I fully agree, and I think we all fall for the same trap when we stand in the front of the medicine counter, and our eye goes automatically to the carton that appeals to us but more.
Yeah. So kind of circling back a little bit, when you talk about different sustainability regulations in different countries and different recycling capabilities, do you find that certain countries and certain areas of the world have more sophisticated recycling capabilities, and so therefore those areas can get more aggressive on their sustainability initiatives?
Yes, I think that there is a clear difference in the way different countries handle packaging waste. But it is not so much, in my opinion, about the actual recycling capability. So it's not about the recycling infrastructure, but it's more about the collection and sorting. So the real bottleneck and the real aspect of recycling system is how the packaging is collected and how it is then sorted, and how we make sure that the sorted fractions are getting to the right places. I mean, in theory, everything is recyclable, right? I mean, technically speaking, almost every material can be turned into something new, but it is this collection and sorting infrastructure that really makes a difference. So when we talk about countries where this infrastructure is more developed, in Europe, for instance, we talk about Germany, Netherlands, Scandinavian countries. For pharmaceutical packaging, it's Spain that has a specific separate collection system for pharmaceutical packaging. Then we see that in those countries, the rules will typically be a little bit tighter, and that there is a lot more to consider in those countries.
Okay. And I guess going back to my previous question about where I made reference to today and tomorrow's sustainability initiatives, so on the topic of tomorrow, what do you see are the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see this global sustainability initiative going? What are some things we think we're on the cusp of delivering under the sustainability umbrella?
Well, it's not just about setting goals. I mean, we talk about commitment a lot. We talk about setting goals, but it's not just about that. It's about how we make sure that carbon reduction is embedded in everything we do within our business. So it's not just about new products. It's about operational excellence. It's about regulatory compliance. It's about a holistic approach. It's about turning commitments into specific actions that deliver value, and not just value on sustainability, but the value for the business. Because at the end of the day, when we talk about the circular economy, the word economy is there. So in order to make a difference, we also need to make money. And I think that's what's going to shape the future of sustainability. The fact that it's not just about reducing your impact, it's about reducing your impact in an economically viable way.
So you're trying to tell me that you go to work every day, not because you love it, but you do it for the paycheck? You actually expect to get paid to do your work?
Well, I think that the paycheck is a nice bonus, Actually, I do get out of bed every morning thinking, okay, so what it is that I'm going to do today and how I'm going to contribute. I think if that was not the case, I would not do my job. I'm an idealist. So, of course, having a nice job pack is nice and motivating, but it's not the only motivation. It's not at all.
Of course. No, I've had those jobs where the only benefit I felt I got out of it was a twice a month or every other week reminder that I was still employed, that paycheck coming in. So obviously I'm not there anymore. So that, I guess that tells you all you need to know. I'm kind of the same way. I need to believe in the product that I'm supporting, or I need to believe in the work that I'm doing in addition to, I mean, obviously we all work to live, right? You need a paycheck to survive and thrive and fund your side projects and your passions and hobbies and whatnot. But I also do need to have some level of belief and pride in the work that I'm doing. So what are some current projects you're working on at Constantia?
Well, we have just launched this really exciting new product our answer to more sustainable total barrier blister packaging. It's an aluminium cold forming blister called regular silk. And it's one of my favorite things in the world. And why? Because it literally ticks all the boxes. So it's not just PVC free, PFAS free. It has an actual lower carbon footprint. It is considered to be recyclable. We have just recently conducted a real life sorting test in which this ready blister modified to actually resemble used blisters was mixed with domestic waste. And 100% of the blisters that went through the size sorting, and that was about 88% of the total sample, 100% of the blisters that passed the size test were sorted correctly into the rigid aluminum fraction, meaning it is going to be recycled. And then, on top of all these wonderful sustainability improvements, we also found out that the material actually runs better on the machine because it's flatter, the higher yield, it reduces the waste at the manufacturing line, and I'm not done yet, and it has a better barrier. It has a better barrier because we are reducing the cross permeation because our sealing polymer layer gets thinner, and the polymer that we've used instead of PVC has a better moisture barrier. I mean, I'm just in love with the product.
Now, is this product out on the market now?
Yes, it is. It's available on the market now. We had a big class about it during the Pharma Pack event in Paris. So yes, it's available and ready to go. Actually, the first market launches have already been announced, and funny enough, one of the first customers is in Mexico.
Oh, okay. So global presence. That's great.
Absolutely.
So I should say, I touched upon, hobbies and passion projects and whatnot. And I understand, and I need to hear the backstory on this, but I understand that you built a kit car. Tell me about this a little bit.
Well, it's a kit car. It looks like something that's like a sport car, like an old English sport car. But it's in fact the Citroën Digivos, this real ugly duckling Citroën. Basically, my husband and I were sitting on the couch looking at each other, and we both love cars. And we are looking at each other and I thought, well, is this it? We need a hobby. And at that moment, there was this article in the newspaper about a Dutch company starting to develop affordable sporting cars. And the affordability came from the fact that you could make it yourself. And we looked at each other and decided to go for it. And the rest is history.
And now, so forgive the ignorance, I'm completely new to this concept. So the kit car is a functioning car, like you can put fuel in it and get into the car and drive and...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's full road legal car. It has the chassis and the driving train from the Citroën, and the body is a polyester kit made specially by this Dutch company. And we've been touring with it for the last 15 years. So it's been our little fun holiday car.
That's great. I feel like that's something you should be driving in parades in your local town, holiday parades. You make it the what do they call it? The unofficial mayor, or there's a I don't know, some type of special dignitary at these parades. They could be riding down the street, Main Street, in your kit car.
Oh, absolutely. And it was really endearing that one of our neighbor's son, a young boy, was asked what was his biggest wish, and he said that he would like to have a drive in our car.
There's a testament for you.
So our car, exactly. So our car has become a young boy's dream. I mean, what else? What can you ask?
I recently adopted my own project, if you will. I bought a boat. A small fishing boat. Yeah. And I never had any interest in purchasing a boat. It was never, nobody in my family are boaters. Mm-hmm. Although when I was growing up, one of my neighborhood friends, his father had a small boat and took us out a couple times. But my wife and my family and we've always kind of been into kayaking. So, buying a boat wasn't a huge departure from that. And I saw that a boat and trailer were being sold used for $100. And I thought to myself,
wow.
who could possibly be selling a boat? There's got to be something wrong with it. And when I looked at the posting, I realized that I recognized the name of who was selling it. So I reached out to them directly, and just for the heck of it, I'm like, "What's the deal?" And they said, "Look, it works. It floats. It obviously it needs some work. It's an older boat. It's a 1980s vintage boat, but it works. And we don't have a need for it anymore. We have a larger boat, so we just want it to go somewhere where someone's going to get some use out of it." But someone was scheduled to come take a look at it, or someone was about to come buy it. And so I guess I just blurted out. I said, "Well, if it doesn't work out, let me know." And then I completely forgot I had this conversation with them. So fast forward about a week later, it's a Saturday morning. I'm sitting at the breakfast table. My wife and I are having breakfast, and she was leaving for the day. I want to say she was going to visit a wedding venue where our son was going to be getting married later that year. And so I had the day free, and we were talking about what I was going to be doing for the day. And all of a sudden I get the phone call. And when I see that the person that's calling me is the person that I had called about the boat, I all of a sudden remembered that conversation and panicked because I hadn't spoken to my wife about this. I never even told her about it. So they call me and they say, "Yeah, the guy that was supposed to buy the boat passed, or he didn't show, or whatever it was. So the boat's yours if you want it, but you got to come get it today." So now I'm in a mad scramble going, well, I committed to this. I guess I got to see this through. So I told my wife, I said, "Yeah, I'm going to buy a boat today." And she thought I was kidding. Well, I came home, took pictures of it, sent her pictures of the boat. And surprisingly, I still live in the house. She did not get as upset as I thought she would. But, the boat's been sitting in my front yard for the last year and a half, and I've been working on it here and there, doing some carpeting work and replacing the hardware, and I bought an electric trolling motor. And so my goddaughter saw it, and now she is – sorry, this is my segue. You were talking about your next-door neighbor's son. His dream was to go for a ride in your car. So every time I feel like I'm going to give up on working on this boat, I remember her saying that she wanted to go on a ride in the boat. And so now that's my driving force is I in order to take her on a ride on this boat, I have to finish the work. So my goal is this spring, this summer, when the weather clears up, to finish that up and get the boat out on the water. So more to come. I'll let everybody know how that goes, my maiden voyage in a future episode.
I want to just mention one thing, because if something is meant to be, it's meant to be. I believe that. When we were building the kit car means you need a donor car, so you need an old car to use for your chassis and your motoric parts, and you need to strip it, and then you need to buy the body kit to mount on it. And when we decided to order the body kit, we didn't have money for that, and we just decided, okay, we don't know how we're going to pay for it, but we believe that this is meant to be. We're going to do that. And believe it or not, the kit kat had a lead time of 6 months, and 3 months in, we won a lottery. It was a small local lottery, though, from the sport club. So it was not a huge payout, but it was enough for us to buy the body.
Talk about being meant to be.
So, exactly. So I believe when something is meant to be, it will happen.
So you're telling me I should play the lottery?
I'm telling you, you made a great decision buying the boat.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take that. That's not quite as good as winning the lottery, but I do appreciate the vote of confidence. So as I'm sure my listeners have noticed by now, I have a recurring theme throughout the episodes I've released and the episodes I've recorded, which, not all of them have been released yet. And in my normal daily conversations, I do tend to make a lot of movie references. And in the questionnaire, one of the questions I ask potential guests is if there are any books or movies that capture how you feel about your specific field is perceived. I understand you do have an answer for that, and I would ask you to share your response and kind of explain your rationale as to why.
Well, it's a little bit a sad one because the movie I instantly think of when somebody asks me this question is the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio called Don't Look Up. When we on Earth are alerted of the fact that the big meteorite is approaching, and this when it hits the Earth, it's going to be the end of us all, and we simply choose to ignore it because it's far away, because it's far from our bedshow, because it's abstract, because we don't understand how this imaginary, for many people, threat is going to impact our life. And I have a feeling that when it comes to environmental destruction, not only climate change, but also loss of biodiversity, which is a real issue, we tend to think the same. It's abstract, it's better from my bed show. I don't see how it impacts me today. I don't understand how can I contribute to mitigate it. And then you have those desperate scientists doing all in their power to make everybody aware that it's not too late. There are opportunities. We have options. We can do something, and they are not heard. And sometimes I have a feeling that's a little bit the reality I'm in. I try not to think about it too much because it gets really depressing. But yeah, I think that's a little bit the situation that I'm experiencing.
That is a very poignant example, and I thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. I have seen the movie, so I do get the reference that you're making, and it is unfortunately a common trope, I think, in movies and in social media and in pop culture. And so I think the example definitely holds. So, but I hope that this is something that we can maybe through this podcast and through constant initiatives around the globe, we create more awareness and hopefully put better programs in place. So I'm a glass half full kind of guy, so I will keep my fingers crossed. I hope for the best.
Me too. And well, thank you, Matthew. And I'm also tend to be more optimistic. And I believe that the moment we realize it's not about saving the planet, it's about making sure that our children and their children have a healthy and beautiful place to live on. That would be the first step towards understanding that action is needed and everybody has a role to play.
Well, that's a great sentiment to make because that makes it a much more common goal because, we all share that same feeling, right? We all, for everyone that does have children and grandchildren, you want to leave this place for them and you want them to be able to leave it for the next generations after them. So again, I appreciate you sharing that. So I can't imagine when you were a little girl growing up, you said, I want to be the vice president of sustainability in pharmaceutical packaging manufacturing. So rewind a few years to when you were young. What did you want to be when you grew up? What were your aspirations?
Oh, wow. That really takes me back. And well, fun story about my origin story, as I like to call it, is that when I was 12 years old, I was a member of the Environmental Protection League in Poland, where I grew up. And I found my ID card, so my membership card from that period, which was really nice to see. And my idea of contributing to the nature protection was to become a marine biologist.
Okay.
So the little me was mesmerized by the underwater world and wanted to protect the corals and protect the whales at the time. I'm not sure if I understood what corals were, but I wanted to protect the whales. And although I haven't become a marine biologist, this protecting nature and the wildlife sentiment has been always at the back of my mind. And I think it's also a little bit the inspiration and motivation for what I'm doing today.
Saving the earth in a different way.
Exactly.
So, in an ironic twist, there was a brief period where I also wanted to be a marine biologist. So, I grew up in New Jersey, where I still live now. And where I grew up was in a town right next to a tidal saltwater marsh. And so I had access to the beach. I mean, my high school is a couple
Oh,
blocks
wow.
from the ocean. So, from that perspective, I was very blessed. But there is a national park about 35 minutes away from the town I grew up in, Sandy Hook, which overlooks the, southern Manhattan skyline. And we used to have class trips and we went up there. And I remember going up to a place called Horseshoe Cove where we did some science experiments. And I remember finding a rotten out shell of a horseshoe crab and just being fascinated with marine life in general. And so there was a brief stint when I was young that I also wanted to be a marine biologist. But much more than that, I wanted to be third baseman for the New York Yankees. And unfortunately, neither of those have worked out.
Well, I think my marine biologist dream kind of went away when I realized that I would have to be a really good swimmer, which I'm not. So.
That's semantics. So a little pivot here. So, okay, so you wanted to be a marine biologist when you were growing up, but I understand that if you did not do what you currently do as a profession, your dream job would be what?
Well, I think that's another thing that we might have in common, Matthew, because my adult big passion is wine. So being a sommelier, somebody who really understands wine and knows how to pair them with the beautiful food, having a job like that would pretty much come close to making a occupation out of your hobby for me.
But can you really call that a job? I don't know if I can call that work.
No, I don't think it either. Well, maybe the one thing, because somebody tells me, do you realize that when you're a sommelier, you're not drinking all the wine all the time?
Okay, fair point. Fair point.
So there is this, yeah, there's this one restriction that I haven't thought of before, but other than that, I fully agree with you.
All right, let me set the stage for you. It's late on a Friday afternoon, and you've had one hell of a week. And all you can think about is getting home and cracking open a bottle of wine and saying goodbye to this hellish week at work. Is there a specific bottle that you reach for that you just know is going to kind of put you into that mood and kind of put the work week behind you?
Well, as a matter of fact, the bottle of choice for now would be this amazing red Primitivo wine that we've bought when we were on holidays. We were sitting on the terrace having a wonderful Italian meal, and then this bottle of wine, and we loved it so much that at that moment at the restaurant table we ordered a box to be delivered to our home, and I still have 3 of those in my wine fridge. So that would be the one of choice for me.
Okay, depending upon the mood, I guess, and the time of year, I should say. My go-to would probably be a Charles Krug Cabernet, which I just recently learned Charles Krug is part of the Mondavi family. I was not aware of that. But on a trip to Napa with my wife in early summer of 25, actually got to tour the winery. Ironically enough, we were there at the same time that Andrea Bocelli was doing a 2-night concert at the Charles Krug winery, which is why we could only get an appointment there on a Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday were all sold out, and I couldn't understand why. And then I realized that he was going to be in town, and tickets were $1,000 a piece on the cheap side. So, as much as we would have loved to have gone and seen him live, just couldn't make that work. But similar to your experience, a few years ago, my wife and I were on a vacation, multi-country vacation, if you will. We were in Portugal and Spain, and then France. We actually, it was our anniversary trip, and we were actually in Paris for our anniversary. But we started in Lisbon and then Porto. Absolutely loved Porto. And while we were there, obviously we did a walking tour and got to enjoy some great port wines. And same thing, I ordered a half a case of bottles of this port wine. I don't even remember the name of it. and had it shipped to the house. And so we still have a few bottles of that left. So that's always a celebration, but we seem to save those for more summertime rather than this time of year. So I guess kind of moving on a little bit, I do like to give my guests an opportunity to provide some information, either contact information if someone's interest is piqued on the conversation today and they want to reach out, or if you want to share Constantia's website, or if there's any specific information you'd like to provide on how people may be able to follow up to get more information, if you wouldn't mind providing some of that.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Matthew, for the opportunity. Our wonderful new development regulatory sparked your interest. Then please reach out to our colleagues in the US. It's Constantia Blythewood. The best way would be to contact our sales manager there, Chris Gullard. You can reach him through LinkedIn. We can put the link into the podcast notes, but I think that would be the best way to move forward with the information.
Okay. Sounds good. And I guess any final thoughts before we sign off?
I think that my final thought here would be that we talk about the balance. We talk about the balancing act between sustainability and commercial viability and regulatory compliance. And I think that in packaging, like in life, balance is very important. Not too much of the bad, not too much of the good, just the right amount.
Okay, great. Well, folks, thank you all so much for listening in today. And Agnieszka, again, thank you for your time and your insights. Very much appreciate it. Please hit the like and subscribe button wherever you happen to be listening. I very much appreciate the support. If you would like to reach out, as always, www.precisionengsolutions.com is my website. Hit the contact us section, send me a note if you have ideas on future episodes or if you would like to participate in an episode yourself. So with that, again, thank you very much. And until next time, take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Packaging Etc. podcast. We hope you enjoyed the content and maybe learned something new. If you have ideas for future guests or topics, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to send a connection request on LinkedIn or visit www.precisionengsolutions.com and use the contact form. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us once more on the next episode of the Packaging Etc. podcast. Until then,